Kumar strategy.
My name is Elliana.
Myself, Shubham.
My name is Sheikh Noman.
I am Mikita.
I'm Bullsh.
What could work from terms of the engagement that it could generate and what the traction could be?
If you're the right founder in a market that actually has a demand, you will find out what really makes sense to you at that point, where you need to be.
I get to know everyone is investing in Web3, including me. So, about Web 2.5, what do you mean by Web 2.5?
So if I do the IP valuation of my own project, it will be massive than my own tangible assets.
Don't think of us as someone who has the money. It's basically a startup in itself.
We do need decentralized counterparts for this physical infrastructure. That is the need of the hour.
Hello everyone, myself Shubham. I'm the head of ecosystem at Manta network. We have amazing panelists from different VCs apart from Harsh. So in case you have like any different opinion, it's okay, or maybe you can share your personal opinions about the investments as well. So before like getting started, I'll just give you a brief about the topic. So it's about, basically it's about narratives where VCs are investing right now. So happy to hear your thoughts from TBV, like what you guys, like introduction first and maybe a bit about your recent investment or which you are really proud of. So everyone can go about introduction and about a one investment that they are really proud of, maybe through narrative side or maybe through money side, anything. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Elliana. I'm based in New York City. I'm head of investments in TB Ventures. We focus on Web 2.5, Web 3, startup projects pre-seed to Series A in Southeast Asia and the US North American market. I think for us, more recently, we did a company called Petastic, which is identity infrastructure for pet data on chain. Really big fan of what they're doing. I think since 2 years ago, the ID space was always lacking a little bit, particularly use case driven. So we feel we finally find something that's interesting. So that was one investment that we did in November time. So really proud of the team, solid founder. And I think they're launching the Deepen protocol at the moment. So yeah, very exciting.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Mikita. I am a partner of the investments team at NewTribe Capital. NewTribe Capital, it's a venture capital fund. We've been investing in the crypto space for over 5 years now. And our portfolio is all over, all of the different, it comprises of all the different sectors within the crypto ecosystem. And if I have to pick one project that I'm really proud of from our portfolio is Virtual's protocol, not just because of the commercial success, but also because of the way that their journey has been. It started out as a gaming DAO, and with the changing times, it has kind of pivoted into being a decentralized AI agent platform. And they've been thriving, they've been doing fantastic, and it kind of showcases that if you're adept to the new situations, as and when things progress, especially Web3, because it's a constantly evolving ecosystem, you can survive any narrative and any up and down in the market.
Hello.
You can just take.
Oh. Hello. Yes,
GM.
now I can hear. Hi, my name is Sheikh Noman. I'm the founder and CEO of the Pegasus Capital Investment. We recently launched this project. Under that, we are bringing all the companies, we are shareholders, investors, and equity partners in the different part of the world. And we are focused only on digitalization investments like blockchain, Web3, artificial intelligence, tokenomics, and metaverse IP stuff. So anybody is having IP protection, we are happy to hear about them to the investments in core projects, best in Saudi Arabia and UAE. Thank you.
Awesome. GM, not a VC builder, but yeah, I'm Harsh. We are building Push Chain, which in essence is a universal blockchain because of course we need to defragment Web3 one way or the other. Investment I'm proud of, like I've done a lot of investment, but one thing that I'm proud of right now is Fluid, which is essentially Instant app or was Instant app first, created by 16, 17-year-old founders, and now it's one of the top 3 protocol. I regret not investing in them when the opportunity was there, but that's something that I'm really excited about. Other than that, of course, AI agents.
Hello everyone, I hope you can hear me. Kumar Chatterjee with Mindfulness Capital. We are OG VC in the space. You haven't heard much about us until you hear about our portfolio. We're LPs into Animoca, we're LPs into Sandbox, Chiangiri, a whole bunch of other companies. And our newest fund is backed by Chris, the Ripple chairman of Ripple, as you might know him. So we are not really interested in a specific segment or a technology slice. We go across the spectrum and we look at whatever's interesting and what could be the next big thing. We've been at it for a while now and we'll probably continue for well into the future. And very happy to talk to anybody here who has an interesting project to pitch.
Got it. Thank you everyone for the introduction. So now let's jump on the narrative side, which is quite interesting for everyone. So according to VC standpoint, so what is the one narrative which you think has gained organic traction? So we talk about AI agents, we talk about tokens, but that is not an organic thing. I want to know about one particular model, like a business model, which actually gained a good traction through Web 2, Web 3, whatever you can think about, but it can drive a future narrative which can be a good impactful in Web 3.
I think from my perspective, whenever I get asked this question, it's always about a sector. But I always explain this as it's less about a sector, more the business model driven. Whatever the business model you're currently operating on, it will be depending on what the GTM distribution channel looks like and everything. So it's not really, it can be any sector, it doesn't matter. So I love people asking about, oh, what sector you're focusing on. I'm like, it doesn't really matter if your business model, particularly in that sector, whatever you're working on, is gonna work and it's actually the right one for that subsector. That to me is more important than anything else because we'll do anything for the Web 2.5, Web 3. So it's not about one particular ecosystem, it's really across. So to us, that's like always the answer for us.
Got it. So according to you, it's more about the GTM and how it works, right? So in Web3, I've seen the best GTM works for tokenomics, nothing else. Like if I want to raise money, the VC doesn't invest more on the equity side, it raises more on the token side. So eventual goal is to get the exit liquidity out of like the particular project. So do you think like even if I have a good GTM, if like the VCs are not really interested in the project, business model, revenue model specifically, and more focused on the token. So do you think like if I am doing something really cool which with a good GTM but no token, will you still invest?
Yes, actually I prefer it sometimes.
According to a VC standpoint, so do you think like most of the VCs?
I think it really depends on which type of VC you are, especially if you're in Southeast Asia, you cannot start a conversation without a token. However, if you are, for example, a registered fund in the US, then the conversation becomes very different. And I actively have heard people talking about they don't want a token because if they're going for the acquisition route, the easiest way for them is not to have a token. And this deal can be done in 2-3 months instead of gonna drag on for 6 to 7. So that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it.
Sure. What's your opinion?
I mean, I completely agree with the fact that you need to have a very strong GTM and you need to have fundamentals correct, irrespective of the sector. But if we have to talk about one sector that has organically grown and kind of been a really cool narrative, I would say it is Deepin. Because I think with the way the overall, I mean, the entire tech industry is moving towards more AI agents. So the need for computational power, storage spaces, all of this is quite high. And while the Web 2 giants are doing a good job at it, we do need decentralized counterparts for this physical infrastructure that is the need of the hour. That not just right now, but also like the way we are moving, it's definitely something this decade can benefit from. And if we can make it decentralized, if we can make it scalable, if we can put that particular power in each and every house to kind of contribute towards deepen overall, I think that that's a sector that has grown organically and something that I'm very excited about.
What is the best investment in deepen which NewTribe made till now?
Well, I think none of the projects have launched so far, so I wouldn't say anything in terms of success in that sense. But we have done a few exhibits is something that I really like. They are a merge between AI and deepen, and I'm really excited to see where they take us.
Okay, thank you. Yep. What's your opinion on this?
Regarding the, I don't personally deal with VCs and funds. So anybody into the Web3 investments comes, any projects comes to us, we look after that. Every passing opportunity is a golden opportunity for us in the Web3. Particularly, this is a trend market. We don't like to follow the trend. If something is coming up new, everybody's following it. That means the real people who wanted to make the money, they already made the money out of it. So we just let it go on. If something is coming new ideas are coming in to create the history kind of unicorn projects, and like we invested initially in W3D in one project, and it didn't turn around to be right because it was already past the trend. And as an investor, we particularly see any company who has a broader vision, the leadership has a proper vision, they have scalability skills to scale it more and, on international platforms, and something comes up with the securities and IP protections, then we go for it. But otherwise, we don't literally follow the trends or the investment in the Web3. It's normal, everybody can do it. But the problem comes with the security and the risk factor. So many people jump into the digitalization, but they think this is a big game changer. A lot of people are making money, it's easy money. And we normally advise people, there is nothing called easy money. And you need to properly read and study the projects. If something is viable, doable, then you get into it. Otherwise, it's a waste of energy and time. And at the end of the day, you will say, oh man, digitalization is a scam. So it's not a scam, it's just you don't know about it properly.
Got it. Yep, Harsh. So I think there were a lot of opinions. So just to repeat the question. So it is about what narrative you think can be a better in Web2, Web3, but which can also bring Web2 audience, like the emerging technology, rather than just a token.
Sure. So narrative-wise, or if you look at organically, interoperability is something that is picking up, and that's there from the moment we launched centralized exchange, right? There's this speculation or DeFi or whatever Web3 does, it is doing in a specific blockchain ecosystem. And if you are able to unify it out, that's the emerging narrative that's going in. Of course, trend-wise, it's AI agent, it's AI X crypto. Both of the things are fine. Like if you look at it from VC, so a VC told me that don't think of us as someone who has the money. It's basically a startup in itself because we have to put in money that is basically coming from other investors. And they have to justify that gearing ratio. They have to justify the cost. So of course, VC will go for trends as well as putting their gamble on upcoming narratives because sometimes they just die down. We all remember NFT and board apes, right? So, yeah, that's my key point. In terms of organic, I see interoperability, universal wallet, universal chain coming in. In terms of trend, I see AI Gen 1 coming in, which is just AI agent, but we have to go deeper. We have to monetize the private data. We have to look into training data and how we can democratize that. So that's something which is very fascinating for me as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep, Kumar.
Sorry, Shubham, just if your question was, what's the narrative in AI agent investing? No.
No, not about AI. So it's about just narrative, which you think is really valuable in terms of like model, in terms of technology rather than just a token?
From our perspective, as from
Yeah.
our I think that this is part of where we tend. I personally tend to disagree a lot with the thesis-based investing. The thesis-based investing came from the technology world, and before that, from the non-technology world, from investing models and things like that, financial models, exit calculations, things like that, right? And then in the technology world, initially when the internet was there, okay, there were no models. There was just pure, somebody said, I would get a 30x, I would get a 100x, whatever. Turned out that some people got a 100x, and then that became the new model for Web3. And now we're trying to look at what's the narrative that fits the model. I think that's what pretty much a lot of firms, companies want to do. And I feel that if we've got to admit that even today, after all that we've seen, we really don't know where Web3 is headed, per se, right? If you go back to the COVID days, Web3 was meant to be the new horizon for everything, right? We were going to come out of COVID, technology was going to be disrupted, and it was all going to be blockchain based. It hasn't happened, right? It hasn't happened. We have a lot of layer ones. How many are being adopted? We have a lot of DeFi protocols. How many are being used? We have a lot of domains like DePIN, RWA. Where's the liquidity? So the idea that we had a thesis-driven, thesis based on a model sort of way of investing doesn't work. So for me, I would look at, and mindfulness as well, what could work from terms of the engagement that it could generate and what the traction could be, knowing fully well that 9 out of 10 will just not happen, right? So you can't come up and say, oh yeah, this is the new Ethereum, or this is the new, Bitcoin killer. It doesn't work like that. And we've gone down that road with DePIN, and now we're going down that road with RWA. I can't, hand on my heart, having looked at hundreds of RWA decks and maybe more than 500 DePIN decks, I don't know which DePIN or which RWA technology is going to survive. All of them might die. So really, I think we need to be less arrogant and less sure of ourselves as VCs and say, oh yeah, we know what technology might work. We don't. We've got to look at some of the metrics and make educated guesses, and that's what it is, an educated guess on where the technology might go. AI agent. Who here was talking about AI agent last year? Nobody. Nobody. And today every VC will tell you about their AI agent thesis. Come on, guys. Come on. Yeah, I've been in AI for 25 years. As a researcher, as a developer, I've built AI companies. Even I look at the AI agent stuff and I'm going, okay, what's happening here that's new? Like, I don't get it, right? So we've got to take ourselves less seriously, admit that we know barely more than what the developers know, and let's play it out and see where we go.
Got it. I really like the idea when you talked about AI agents. So even I have really used very low amount of AI agents who are particularly in Web3 specifically rather than a token. I traded a lot of tokens, but I don't know what they actually are doing. So yeah, coming to TBV specifically. So I know you guys come from BFF initially, Tobias and Brent. They are good friends. So I know you guys recently started. So I wanted to know more about the thesis which is different from any other VCs. So eventually, you mentioned Web 2.5, Web 3. I get to know everyone is investing in Web 3, including me. So about Web 2.5, what do you mean by Web 2.5? How your thesis standpoints, or maybe I know a lot of VC has a particular sheet where they check mark, if this VC has this project has a tier 1 Ivy League students, if this has a team of this many people, how many engineers. So what is your thesis on that particular side?
Yeah, so two things, right, about the fund. So I don't want to make this more or less sounds like more marketing. The way we're thinking about is, as we talked about the marketing distribution channel GTM strategy, that's one of the major hurdle for companies that in the process from going from pre-seed to C to Series A, right? You basically, if you don't find the right product market fit or finding the right business partners or clients at the moment, you kind of go out of business really quickly. So the fund, particularly looking at, it was the support coming from an events business, is be able to expand your network really quickly for our portfolio companies, that you will be able to have a lot of chances to talk to a lot of business partners that you don't go one by one. You go to an event, you can talk to 50 to 100, or at least if you're part of the events, you'll be able to get, for example, contacts with more than 100 people that who are actually interested in your project, wanted to partner with you, instead of you going out with one BD person, going to event by event. And that's a lot less efficient coming from you're running a business for scaling, right? So on the second question, there you talk about how we think about particularly, what was the... No, I forgot about
so,
it. Yeah.
like, what is the major thesis behind every investment? Like, you mentioned about all the strategy to get in connections, right?
Yeah.
But now, if you have the connection, so say suppose I come and pitch you.
Yeah.
So, what would be your first and foremost questions? Like, list of questions which you analyze for me.
Right. So the question, so normally it's like a 30 minutes pitch. And I tend to not sit back and just let them do the pitch. I was like, I have 15 questions. I need these 15 questions to answer first. And then I kind of know where you are in basically from the sector to maturity to fundraising to you, your team, where you guys are at, like in terms of product development. I know all this. So to us, really, it comes down to not a scorecard, but two things, product and market. Right? Nothing else. So actually, sorry, founder in a market, product is secondary. I actually care less about what type of products you're building. If you're the right founder in a market that actually has a demand, you will find out what really makes sense to you at that point, where you need to be. You will go to the market with a product you have in mind that's going to work, but then you're quickly realizing maybe some people don't need it or you need to tweak the product. As long as you're a great founder, has a self-awareness, not having your nose into the air or like not even looking at where you're looking, particularly for the market, you will figure it out. That's the two things. You just need a founder that has the right mind, what they want to build, and the market is actually asking for a product. And that's all I need.
One short question. If I have a good hype and if I have a good product, where you will invest?
Then the numbers will tell me the story, right? Like if I don't know you at all, the second day and you say you wanted to check, and really coming down to is more quantitative things. It's like, what's your traction? What's your revenue potential? Who's actually on your cap table, right? The moment we always like to say the VCs are like a herd, right? It's like one person in, the other person in, but the real story is diversification of risk. Right now, no VC is really taking one round by themselves. So really coming down to is who else is in it with me, and if we're doing another round or say a follow-on, who can actually come in as well, other than the new capital, because it's kind of a group game at that point.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah. So on NewTribe, like before coming to this panel, I just saw your portfolio. Major allocation, like a lot of money was going into infrastructure, second was AI, third was Bitcoin economy. First, talking about infrastructure, like what kind of infrastructure you guys are interested in, like the hype of all the L1s and L2s. Second, you talked about AI, so let's skip that one. Third, about Bitcoin economy. So you have invested a lot in Bitcoin economy. Do you guys still think like it's worth to invest in it right now as well?
Yeah, I mean, so talking about the infrastructure bit first, of course, so essentially as NewTribe Capital, the thing that we focus on most is, like she said, the founder. That is the most important thing. In fact, we have a saying within our fund that we invest in people. And that has been our motto since day one, and that has kind of continued. Now, talking about the sectors that we're focusing on, infrastructure is of course big because we believe that good infrastructure is needed to create the foundational layers on which the Web3 ecosystem can have sustainable growth. Because if you don't have key components in place, then where will the retail apps function? How are you going to make intuitive user interfaces without there being a very strong foundational layer to support it in the first place? So that has been our core belief, to support infrastructure projects. And within infrastructure, we are quite open to a lot of different ideas. That's how our portfolio has been as well. So it's been a mix of a lot of different subsectors within the big umbrella. And then at the end of the day, the project that we pick, of course, it is guided by our theses of the sector, but the final decision relies on the founder's capabilities, what he or she has done before, and what is the vision, and what are the things that we think that founder is capable of.
Got it. So you mentioned that infrastructure is really important to build all this thing. Let's take an example of 2017-18 when sidechains and layer 2 started building. So that time it was really important for Ethereum to scale that. But do you think right now the whole ecosystem is already matured on the infrastructure side and we should not focus on that?
We cannot remove the focus from infrastructure, because even though from within Web3 we feel that the ecosystem is matured, but if we take a look from the perspective of somebody who does not know what a Bitcoin is, or or someone who's just heard about a Bitcoin but has no idea how to navigate in the Web3 ecosystem, for them they need dApps which kind of give them a very intuitive user interface, wherein they don't have to do a PhD in MetaMask to understand how to do simple things. They're not scared that if I will do one thing wrong, all of my money can just burn without me even realizing it. So to reach there, we need to have a strong infrastructure, and we're not there yet, because the amount of people that are getting into Web3 is still not pretty high, even though, within the ecosystem we feel it's very high. But if you take a look at the entire population of the world, you will realize that it's a very small percentage. And for them to get into it, we cannot overlook infrastructure. It's not until there is a way in which retail dApps are built with user interfaces that are highly intuitive, we are not there yet in terms of infrastructure.
Okay, fair enough. Yep, so let's go to Noman. So I heard that you guys don't do FOMO investing and stuff. So I wanted to understand your side as well. You mentioned about IP businesses and stuff. So if suppose, let's take an example of Story, which is everyone knows that they are focused on IP. Do you still think that is worth investing because it is more focused on the Web3 IPs? Or you think there should be a business which has some component of Web2 and a tokenomics which brings them to Web3? That's it.
Every other investor, every investor has their own psychology to invest in their different projects. And every digital assets have a IP valuation. In terms of Web3 or Web2 projects, anybody wants to scale up them up for raising the investments and create their trend, I always recommend people that wherever we are investing, we're ensuring them to do the IP valuation by Bun Convention 2004. Meaning they do not need any new regulations. They just need to follow the pattern of by Bun Convention. And because these businesses called a digital identity, and it falls in the category of IP valuation. If they do the IP valuation on behalf of IP valuation, they can raise the investments. Like myself, if I'm injecting money anywhere, we ensure that we have a capital protection. In digital assets, there is no tangible product or asset to give as a collateral security. Still, there is any intangible businesses like Web3 or Web2, if they want to do the IP valuation, on behalf of that IP valuation, they can create the IP shares of their project, no matter if it is a startup, because the IP valuations comes on the valuation or the background of the leader or the founder. For example, myself, I've been in banking almost 12 years, in a business almost 10 years. So if I do the IP valuation of my own project, it will be massive than my own tangible assets. But anybody wants to scale them up for raising the investment, creating the trend in the digital assets, no matter it's blockchain, Web3, Web2, whatever, if they do the IP valuation, it's easy, it's more convenient for them to raise the investments. If I'm an official partner with Ignite under the DIFC, I'm their official investor. So this is what we are doing as well under the DFC. Anybody wants to raise the investment against the startup companies in Web3, because Dubai is more flexible for the crypto regulations. So anybody wants to do the fundraise or investment, want to create the trend, I normally suggest them if they do the IP valuation of their project, it will help them to raise the capital against the collateral security. So this is one of the intangible asset they can give me as a collateral security. Anybody.
So talking about tangible and non-tangible, so what's your opinion on RWS? It can be like monetary businesses like money market instruments or treasury bills, or maybe talking about real world assets like properties and stuff. So is it like exciting for you?
That is also possible. I mean, any intangible, look, there is a saying, every tangible has an intangible valuations. It's just something people need to study about it by the regulation which were passed in 2004. Those who are studying it, they are playing and they are not launching their project as a digital assets or as a cryptocurrency. They are focusing on intangible assets, because if they follow the intangible asset regulation, they don't need a new regulation or a crypto regulatory authority. They just need register them project as an intangible project, and they will get recognition by any regulatory authority in Dubai or any part of the world.
Got it. We can just come to regulatory as well. Harsh, like not same question for you. EPNS, then push chain. First thing, like why push chain? Second thing, let's take an example. There are 4 VCs right now. If you want to like do a pitch right now, a short pitch to all of them about push chain, what you will say?
Yeah. That's why I chose this panel though. Cool. So why EPNS and push chain? Let's go with that. So EPNS was meant to solve notification for Ethereum, or Web3 native notification. We solved that. We are the leaders in that. Then came, what about communication, wallet to wallet chat, as well as notification for entire Web3? And push solved that, and right now we have 500,000 subscribers. So it's pretty successful. But while working on this, what we realized was that we are essentially working on something that is interoperable, something that unites everyone, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's Solana, whether it's Bitcoin, and so on. And then we kind of realized that push chain is the end game over here. So push chain in itself is a universal blockchain. What does that mean? Well, it's a blockchain that sits below all the other blockchain, and it enables users and developers to unify all the experience together. So what push chain does is, at a user level, it allows user to do cross-chain fee abstraction and wallet abstraction, which means if you have Ethereum or if you have Solana and you are on Phantom or MetaMask, you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to bridge anywhere. You can just come and do your transaction or fund your transaction by just those amount, or you can even move your asset by just interacting with a fee locker smart contract. On the developer side, what does a universal blockchain need? Well, it needs universal wallet, which means that you support all the wallets, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Aptos, or so on. At the developer side, it needs reading from all the blockchains and then writing from all the blockchains. And this is what you can do with the universal smart contract of pushchain. So that's why it's essentially a universal blockchain that defragments the entire Web3. Any chain, any app, any user or wallet, you can now just use pushchain and move all the ecosystem or unify all the ecosystem together. What was the second question?
It's okay. Let's go to this one then. About the wallet stuff. So you mentioned universal access. So it's kind of chain abstraction, I think so, right? So in chain abstraction, the major problem for me is about the custodian wallet. So do you think like you have a custodian or non-custodian wallet?
So it's a non-custodial wallet. I don't want to go into technical specifics, but I can basically break it down for you. It's essentially sharded, and the 2 piece of the shard is always held by the user. What it does is it basically allows you to do social login, and through that you are able to recover your shard. So it has the flexibility of a Web2 interface, but deep down it's a non-custodial wallet.
And all these like tokens which are transferred from one chain to another. So is it like a OFT which is locked on a particular chain and then transferred to other one, or is it like the real asset which is an object on chain?
Cool. So this is where complexities come in. It can be a OFT, but the way it happens is that whatever asset you are going to transfer, it either is transferred as a synthetic format, or if you're going to fund it with gas or you want to use it for some other thing, it is converted to stable coin. And then on the push-in side, that stable coin is converted to the native token, essentially minting a new token out. And then these assets that are locked, we later burn it. So that's how it kind of is approached. And yeah, it's a new native token.
Got it. Thank you. Yes, so Kumar sir, we can just go to the last question which we were discussing about AI agents. So specifically you mentioned, and I mentioned as well, that I don't know really a lot of models which have been used into the ecosystem about the AI agents. What are your opinions? Like, have you ever used any AI agent right now? Like, don't tell me about open AI and stuff. Tell me about the decent one which no one knows about.
Hi. Yeah, so the let's say we talk about cutting the bullshit and to think the truth. Most AI agents that are being, or most startups that are presenting AI agents today, it is simply a RPA, robotic process automation. Essentially, it's a build-up of steps with a AI interface on top, which calls ChatGPT or some other engine behind. That's it. That's your AI agent. It's essentially, instead of me saying to Alexa, Alexa, tell me what the weather is, I speak to an AI agent, and the AI agent then goes and does a robotic process automation, and that delivers a certain result, an outcome. Now, this is easy to do because RPA has been around for roughly 6-7 years now. RPA is especially well deployed in the enterprise space. So you can now add essentially a natural language processing sort of a voiceover, let's say a voice interface to RPA. Instead of writing a script, you're just vibing, you're now there's vibe coding, which is essentially, you're vibing or you're just talking, you're prompting, and then the RPA agents are being arranged in a workflow and they're executing. That's it. That's about 95% of the AI agents that I have seen in my inbox or I've heard about, right? And so, so I don't think any of this has any value beyond the immediate sort of, cool, we can have an interface and somebody can fund it, some VC can fund it, that's about it. But the real AI agent world will start to happen, where you can actually connect different engines and create something that you could not create before without spending many, many hours. So for example, you could take a data analysis being done by ChatGPT, merge that with certain image pattern fractal analysis that Midjourney is very good at, and then wrap that into a outcome which could be an AI-generated movie entirely done by DeepSeek 2. Now, something like that today can't be done. The interfaces don't exist, the workflows don't exist, even the conceptualization of how that would happen does not exist. But this will happen. So that's where AI agents become important. Now, if you connect that back to blockchain or to Web3, yeah, you can use tokens. Yes, you can have a blockchain somewhere and the agent can run on top. But do you need to? I mean, I can run the whole AI agent infrastructure without any block, except for maybe authentication or validation at some point, and maybe some reward systems using tokens. Is this a use case? I struggle to find the use case here, right? So I think that's where we are today. We've become very buzzy. And it's part of the, I would admit that even I do that. It's part of the, when you're evaluating a startup for investment, you do want to see if their idea fits within the buzz, within the hype, because you want to be investing at a cutting edge. And you think that if you invest at the cutting edge, you have a higher chance of getting to the next Ethereum or the next Solana, or the next Telegram wallet. That didn't exist a few years ago. So you do a bit of that. But fundamentally today, I think AI agents as a concept is great. But in terms of how we can actually instrument something that has measurable value, we are not there yet. Right, so this conference is interesting because Token 49 in May or in April. Let's look at what Token 49 in Singapore and see how the world has changed in between and what has happened. But today, a lot of the AI agent stuff, a lot of the AI agent / blockchain, a lot of the wallets that are looking to be AI automated, I don't think that a lot of them will be around in 6 months' time.
So actually, I agree and disagree on the same point. So first thing, like why we need blockchain on this side. So blockchain major value proposition was transparency and the data can stored forever. The reinforcement learning for every agent works on the data which is already present and the data runs, try to analyze it and bring new use cases and new responses on that particular side. So I think so blockchain is quite important. But the second problem over here comes about the privacy. So where for the Web2 models like maybe let's say Gemini, Google has all the data about it. So in blockchain, it's already transparent. People can train it on it. But maybe in future, do you think like privacy can be issue because of all these AI agents?
Well, I think that, just on your point, you can use blockchain for it, but you don't need to. I think that's where a lot of the adoption is failing, as we have seen now after 5, 6, 7 years in the space, is that yes, I can do something very cool on blockchain, but I can do something pretty cool without the blockchain too, right? So, and then in the AI space, I can tell you one thing, the AI engineers, the world of AI engineers, we come from a very different space. Like in mathematics, cryptography and AI are two different types of problem. One is a P problem and one is an NP problem. The kind of researchers that do cryptography and the kind of researchers that look at AI are two different types of researchers. I mean, I'm a computer scientist, and I've gone down the both routes, first AI, then cryptography. But these are two different types, two different domains within computer science, right? So a lot of this marrying of the two doesn't feel natural. So I'm yet to look for that. Privacy. I think privacy is very interesting because, if you look at some of the AI stuff, it's definitely based on the idea that data will forever be there, validated and persistent, and then we can work on top and make sure the outcomes are valid. But do you actually want your data to be there forever? I'm not so sure that all data forever makes any more sense, because at a certain point you have data overload. You have so much data that is almost as good as having no data, because you do not have the ability to scan that within the time frame to be able to do an outcome. So you will take estimate guess based on some amount of data sampling, essentially. And a lot of AI today, this is the secret behind, the dirty secret. A lot of data today, AI is today based on data sampling. If there are 500 data points, we maybe look at 25 and then make an assumption. And then we learn. That's faster and cheaper.
Got it. Okay, so like final thoughts, like not about something you want to pitch or you want to say, just 1 or 2 lines. That's it, starting from you.
I've been staring at that clock for the longest time. I'm like, finally. One thing I always say from VC perspective, we all have kind of ADHD, is always keep your pitch short and sweet. Because in about 5 seconds, if you see that eyes start wandering, that's because they're not paying attention. So always keep that in mind.
Yeah, and on closing thoughts, I'd just like to say that, this pitch is all about, this panel is all about narratives. And of course, narratives come and go, but like all of us can agree, it's all about the people that are building those kind of products. And whenever you are pitching, if you can showcase who you are, what you've done, even if it is your failures, because in entrepreneurship, we really value, the past failures that you've done, because even if you fail 2 times, the 3rd time doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to fail. So it's all about kind of talking about the leadership along with the product.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Like final thoughts, like you want to say something to the audience.
Well, thank you so much for hosting this event. I guess I'm glad to hear the intellectuals and the panelists along with me. And having this kind of events will give them more education, the new youth who want to learn about the blockchain, Web3, artificial intelligence. And this is a good thing that we can give back to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. So final thoughts coming from a founder perspective. And this is something a VC told me a long time back. And they helped as well. Like usually when you are a first time founder, you tend to create a deck which has all the tech, which has everything. And the pitch alone goes to 25 minutes. So what Elliana said, I kind of now understand. Get your pitch wrapped up in 5 minutes. Have an appendix. You can go down as deep as someone wants to ask. But you should finish everything in 5 minutes, and you should give VCs the chance to ask questions because that will form their conviction rather than you forming a conviction.
Thank you.
I would say that irrespective of what the technology evolution has been, and it was blockchain, now it's AI, now next tomorrow is space. I would just say, as an entrepreneur, focus on what you are personally passionate about. Solve a problem that you are personally passionate about solving, because entrepreneurship is super hard. And it's not the technology or even the VC who's going to make it successful. It's you, and so you need to be super motivated to do that every single day. So just pick something that you're passionate about. Don't worry too much about what the overall scope is, market size, etc. Leave that to us. We'll figure that out. Solve something that that you want to solve, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening to the panelists. Thank you, panelists, for taking my questions. Thank you.